always wondered why we moved around so much. I was only 18 and we had moved 6 times already. I have lived in India, Nigeria, Japan, and so many cities in the US. People thought I was special because of this, but I didn't. I just wanted to grow up in one town. One day, I was on my way to Target to get some groceries when I saw 2 men arguing in front of me. I wondered why they were arguing so early in the morning. As I inched closer to them, I realized that they weren't actually arguing. An elderly man, who looked like he was in his 60s, was trying to communicate with a cab driver. He was asking him where the closest restaurant was. He said he needed to eat as soon as possible because he was starving. He hadn't eaten the previous day. Because no one around there understood what he was saying and he couldn't take it anymore. He started rubbing his stomach and describing somebody eating with his hands and mouth. The cab driver smiled and brought out $1 from his cab, saying,
"I'm sorry, but this is all I have to spare. Go sort yourself out."
The old man threw the $1 at him and stormed off, grunting swear words. I quickly ran to him and told him where he could find different restaurants. I even wrote their addresses on a piece of paper and handed it to him. I gave him my number and told him to call me if he ever needed any help.
"Oh, little girl,"
he smiled widely.
"God bless you. Mixed breed you are. Parents are Spanish?"
I couldn't understand why he asked that, so I just shook my head and started leaving. He stopped me, gave me $500, and thanked me again. I was extremely confused, but I took the money anyway. Who would turn down $500? Not me. As I was throwing my groceries into a cart at Target, a realization struck me. Wait a minute, I said to myself. I was speaking Spanish with that man? How is that possible? I quickly rounded up my shopping and rushed home to tell my parents what happened. My mom simply smiled when I told her and said,
"You were born in New York. We spent a month in New York and another month in Barcelona before moving to the Bahamas, where we subsequently stayed for almost 3 years. You must have picked up Spanish during our short stint at Barcelona."
As a month-old child? I asked, shocked.
Of course. This is quite common for people in our family. We're not like other people. We're gifted.
It was weird how she said people in our family because they made it clear that I had no uncles or aunties. So who were these people in our family? I guess this also means that we've moved more often than I initially thought, right?
Yes,
my mom answered. And that was the end of our discussion. I knew there was something very different about my family, but this year, I was about to realize just how different we were. And it was going to be astounding. Hello, my name is Elizabeth, but you can call me Lizzie because that is what all my close pals call me. Before we go on, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and turn on post notifications. This is so I know that I can trust you. I'm sharing sensitive information with you in this story, so I need to trust you, or else. Ever since I turned 18, crazy things have been happening to me. I understand almost every language I hear now. I can stay underwater for hours without coming up to grasp for air, and I run at an inhuman speed. This year has been the best year of my life, too. I've made a ton of new friends, and this town just feels more like home than any other. So imagine my surprise when my parents told me it was time to leave. What? I screamed, shocked.
"We have overstayed here and people are starting to notice us. All your gifts are bubbling to the surface and very soon, all your friends will notice that you have an unquantifiable number of gifts because these gifts are only going to keep increasing. We've never stayed in a town for this long and things will start going wrong soon."
How? Mom, tell me. You never tell me anything, I screamed.
"Yes, baby, you're right, and I'm sorry about that. I didn't tell you about our family because you were too young, but you're old enough now, and I'm going to give you answers to every single question you have once we arrive at our new city."
Okay, I sighed, but I have to ask you a favor first.
What is it?
My dad replied this time, with a very kind look on his face. Well, my former high school is going on an excursion, and they want us recent graduates to coordinate it. It's going to be amazing, Dad. And what's more, they will be paying us $20 per hour for our hard work.
Sounds like an okay idea.
Dad smiled.
Where will this excursion be?
New Princeton, I screamed with joy. Mom and Dad looked at each other like someone just died. Then Mom fell on the floor and started crying.
"I knew it. I knew they were close. She is close. We're dead. We're all gonna die."
We're not gonna die, my love.
My dad picked Mom up off the floor.
I'm sorry, baby, but the last place we should be in if we like our lives is New Princeton. We will be leaving by 5 a.m. tomorrow morning.
But Dad, the school is leaving for the excursion by 5:15 a.m. If we leave so early, I won't even be able to tell them goodbye.
I'm sorry, baby. It's late. Now go to bed.
Dad ordered as he lifted Mom onto his shoulders and walked into their bedroom. I tossed and turned as I lay in bed. I couldn't go to sleep. My parents were trying to rid me of the only good life I had ever had simply due to their own selfishness. I would probably never see my best friends ever again, and they didn't even care. All they wanted me to do was to pack my bags and run away with them. They didn't care about my feelings, so I couldn't care about theirs. I arranged all the things I needed for the excursion in my school bag, called one of my besties, Rosemary, and told her that I was coming to her place. I tiptoed out of the house, then locked all the doors and windows from the outside so my parents wouldn't be able to come out for a while. I climbed the fence and ran to Rosemary's. When I got there, I told her how my parents wanted to stop me from going on the excursion, which was the highlight of every high school graduate's life in this town, and she screamed,
"There's no way we're gonna let that happen."
And that was it. The next morning, we joined the school bus and left for New Princeton. We all sang and danced on the bus, and I felt overjoyed. I had no idea just how much danger I was about to poke myself in. I knew my parents would be mad at me, but we could discuss my punishment after the excursion. New Princeton was beautiful. It was a small town with only one way in and one way out. According to our tour guide, New Princeton was the oldest city in the country and perhaps the world. It had historical buildings that you couldn't find elsewhere, and every structure in the town was built with mud. Isn't that amazing? These buildings had lasted longer than most modern buildings, and they were made with just mud. We couldn't believe it. Our tour guide laughed and said,
You guys are amazed? Wait till you see the cave. It is the first building that was ever constructed in this town, where the founders of this town lived, and there are even carvings on the walls created with extremely long fingernails of these founders. They put themselves on the wall so they'd live forever, and rumor has it that they still live on till this day. Some of them still live in this city, and they may be watching us right now as we speak.
The instant the tour guide said this, I felt a very cold chill run through my spine, accompanied by a presence. It was almost like someone was watching me. I looked around and wondered if my parents had followed the bus to New Princeton. But everyone seemed to be conducting their normal businesses, and my parents were nowhere to be found. I followed the crowd towards the cave, and as we were about to enter, a very old, dirty-looking woman ran to me and screamed,
My daughter, you're back. I knew you'd come back. I've missed you.
The old woman tried to hug me, but the tour guide quickly pulled me from her hands.
Be careful, Lizzie. Some of the people here are psycho. Don't let anyone touch you.
And with that, we entered the cave.
First of all,
Our tour guide started.
I'd like to show you all the walls of time, filled with carvings that are almost 1,000 years old. Rumor has it that as long as the drawings of the founders are carved into this magical cave, the founders and anyone born of their blood can never die. Only someone from the family of the founders can remove a carving from this wall. But you know what the catch is?
What? Everyone echoed.
Whoever removes a carving dies alongside the person whose picture he removes.
Oh.
Everyone echoed at once. At this point, I was bored, freaking scared, and I wanted to go back home. Of course, I was supposed to be something of a chaperone, but wouldn't it be fun to disappear for a few minutes and give these kids the scare of their lives? I smiled. I snuck off alone and mistakenly wandered into a massive section of the cave. After taking one glance, I knew I had beat the excursion to the walls of time. That tour guide definitely didn't use shortcuts. The carvings looked so lifelike. It felt like they were real people. Wow, I thought. These founders were really artists. Suddenly, all of the eyes in the carvings turned towards me and started calling my name in unison.
Elizabeth, welcome back. Come with us.
Hands stretched out from these carvings and extended towards me. I tried my best to dodge them, and I was succeeding until one particular hand stretched and kept stretching until a whole body came out. An actual person came out from the carving, and this person looked exactly like me, like a twin sister or doppelganger. She smiled. How do you know my name? I asked.
How do you know mine?
She replied. Your name is Elizabeth? How do I know your name? Why do you look exactly like me? I screamed.
Come with me and I'll show you everything you need to know. I'll give you gifts that your current gifts won't be able to hold a candle to, and I'll make you live forever.
She stretched her hands and helped me stand up. I was about to enter the wall with her when my parents appeared out of thin air. They sprayed purple smoke and all the hands went inside, including the woman who came out. They grabbed me and threw a black smoke on the floor, which made us start disappearing. As our bodies disappeared, I heard Elizabeth shouting,
Wait! No!
We appeared in a living room in a new city. All our things were there. My parents went about their day like nothing happened.
We've moved. We called your school and told them that we had to pick you up so you don't have anything to worry about. Nobody is looking for you. Are you hungry? I made spaghetti and meatballs.
My mom smiled at me. Am I hungry? We literally just vanished, and there were hands out of the walls, and black smoke, and purple smoke, and someone named Elizabeth that looked like me, and I couldn't put my words together.
You'll need a full stomach to hear this.
My mom replied, handing me a plate of spaghetti and meatballs. My mom explained that the lady I met was my grandmother, and she was still alive. She told me that every single person carved in that cave was alive. She said that her and my dad are direct descendants of the founding families in New Princeton. They are all blessed with special gifts and could do things that normal humans could never dream of doing. 2 of the founding families hated each other passionately, and my mom and dad were from these 2 separate clans. Their parents didn't let them get married, so they ran away and got married in another town. My grandmother, who is my mom's mom, was also my mom's best friend, and my mom told her everything, thinking that she was on her side. My mother thought that her dad alone was against the marriage. She later realized that her own mother was the one who cursed her with barrenness for over 480 years, just so she wouldn't give birth to someone with the blood of my dad's family. She stopped communicating with her after that and started changing cities because her mother was still looking for her. She healed herself and was able to give birth to me, and her mother has been looking for a way to kill me ever since. Why did you give me your name then? I asked my parents.
We named you Elizabeth because of how alike you are to her. Same face, body, behavior, everything.
My dad replied.
Also, because your mom still loves her, and she hopes that her mom will eventually stop trying to kill you when she sees that you not only bear her name, but are a carbon copy of her in every aspect. Unfortunately, that isn't working. She obviously still wants to kill you because she's trying to take you into that cave wall, knowing that even your immortality can't survive the powers of that magic wall.
She can't find us here? I asked, scared.
For now.
My mom replied. Wow, this is crazy. So, how old are you guys? I asked, curious.
Your mom and I are 500 years old each,
He said, smiling. What?
Good morning, David. Do you want some cookies?
Sure, Miss Rosie.
Just wait right there on the sidewalk. I'll bring them to you.
While I was waiting, Mark's golden retriever jumped on me and started licking my face.
Max, stop that! Oh my gosh, David, I'm so sorry.
It's okay, Max is my dog too.
Mark, do you want some cookies?
This was what a typical walk in my neighborhood was like. Ever heard of Sweet Magnolias? My town was just like that, but better. Everyone was so friendly and it was so safe that you could go to sleep with all your doors and windows wide open. We all shared with each other and there was never really a sad moment. But a crazy mystery that had been kept from me was about to ruin all of this. Keep watching to find out how. I lived with my mom, dad, and older sister, Laura Lee. My dad worked in tech and my mom was your typical housewife, like most of the women in my neighborhood. Laura Lee and I looked nothing alike though. She had straight black hair and she looked a bit Asian. I, on the other hand, had brown hair and blue eyes. We were not only totally different from each other, but we also looked nothing like our parents. We'd always tease them and ask them if they found us in baskets on their doorstep. We had no other family around. In fact, I'd never met any other family members. No grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, nothing. My parents convinced us that it was because they all lived far away. Then they changed the topic to something nice, like a discussion about family vacations, which we took a lot. That was the only weird thing, but we didn't care because our mom and dad were amazing. I didn't have a single worry, and maybe my biggest struggle in life was trying to figure out a math equation. Which brings me to my school, which was awesome too. All my friends there also lived near my house, so we'd always hang out in somebody's garage after school. Or we'd go to eat somebody's mom's cake, or we'd play video games or baseball. When I look back, I think that those were some of the happiest days of my life. But like I said, that was about to change soon. One day in history class, we were discussing World War I and how many families were affected. Our teacher told us that she was convinced that some of our ancestors had either fought in the war or been influenced by it.
So here's what I want you to do for me. Tonight, I want you to speak to your parents to try and dig up a bit of your family history. I want to know your great-great-grandfather's name and what he did for a living. This is a very simple assignment which is worth 50% of your grade this term.
That night, I decided to bring it up to my mom and dad. Mom, Dad, I need to bring some information about my great-great-grandfather to class tomorrow.
Why?
It's homework and it's worth 50% of my history grade this term. My mom choked on her broccoli and my dad began to tap her on the back.
Oh my gosh, get her some water. Are you okay, honey?
I'm fine. Now, are we still taking that trip to the Caribbean at the end of the month?
We're going to the Caribbean?
Yes, dear.
Then they started talking about the resorts where we'd be staying. And to be honest, I forgot all about my homework because I was so excited. Later that night, after everyone was asleep, I was up talking to my friends online when I remembered the homework. I decided to go to my dad's office to see if I could find anything there. He usually locked it, but he kept it open that night. I went through his filing cabinet but found nothing there. I opened every single drawer, but all I found were documents that had nothing to do with our family. Finally, I checked his desk. I realized that there was one drawer that was locked. I looked around on his desk for the key, but I couldn't find it. As I was about to give up and go to bed, I noticed a shiny little object on the floor. I picked it up and realized it was the key. I tried to open the drawer. At first it wouldn't budge, but then I twisted it again with all my strength. Inside, there was just one big old-looking book. I took it out and opened it. It was a photo album. But it wasn't like an ordinary family album. As I flipped through the pages, I noticed that it was filled with pictures of babies with what appeared to be their parents. They were people of all races, and it even seemed like the pictures had been taken in different locations around the world. Who were all of those people? Then I heard footsteps approaching. I put the book back in the drawer and locked it quickly. I kept the key and ran up to my bedroom without anybody noticing. The next day at school, I didn't have my homework and my answers made no sense to the teachers.
Where's your homework?
I tried to do it, but my parents kept changing the topic.
Ridiculous.
Then I tried to snoop around the house for information, but I found nothing.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm serious. It's like he didn't exist. Or maybe my family just doesn't want to tell me anything about him.
You could have just told me the dog ate your homework. That would have been more believable. Anyway, you have detention after school today.
What? No. Oh, come on. The rest of the day was a drag. I did tell you that I had great friends, and they proved themselves to me that day. They waited for me outside until my detention was over, and when I was finally free, they suggested that we go to the pizza place downtown. Pizza is one of my favorite things in the universe, so that automatically cheered me up. They paid for everything, and I had a feast. But somewhere in the middle of my 10th slice, I noticed a silly-looking man in a green suit staring at me. He had the biggest eyes I'd ever seen, and a long blonde mustache. He sort of looked like he was an actor on the set of some strange movie, or a time traveler, or an alien who wasn't sure how humans dressed, so he just decided to wing it. "What are you looking at?" He smiled and looked away. Weird. After eating all of that pizza, I went to one of the guys' homes to play video games, then I went home. As soon as I opened my front door, I started to feel angry again. My parents were in the living room watching a movie with Laura Lee. Hey, thanks to you guys, I got a detention today.
What are you talking about, honey?
I told you I had homework. You refused to tell me anything about my great-great-grandfather. I told my teacher the truth, but she didn't believe me. So not only did I get punished, but now she thinks I'm a liar. Which is worse, I am not a liar.
Oh no, I'm so sorry, sweetie. We'll go in there and talk to them tomorrow. That's really unfair. But soon this term will be over, and you'll be able to have some fun. Have you already started packing for our Caribbean vacation?
Not this again. I stormed up to my room. I stayed in there until everyone had gone up to their rooms. Then I went downstairs to the kitchen because I was starving. In the middle of my second salami sandwich, I started thinking about the album again. I stuffed my face, went back to my room to get the key, and went back to my dad's office to investigate. I took the album out and looked through it again, and then I found a picture that looked just like me as a baby. Except I was being held by a man and woman I'd never seen in my whole life. I flipped through the other pictures carefully. Then I saw one that looked just like Laura Lee. I went straight up to her room and barged inside. Sis.
Oh my god, have you ever heard of knocking?
Sorry, but this is an emergency. Look at this.
What is that?
It's an album that was locked in a drawer in Dad's desk. Look here. I pointed to the baby I thought looked just like I did when I was little.
It's you, I think. But what are you doing with these people?
And look at this. I flipped to the page where I thought I saw Laura Lee.
Whoa, that's definitely me. But who are these people holding me?
Sis, I think our parents are keeping secrets from us. Don't you think it's strange that they can never tell us anything about our family? We've never met any of their relatives. We've just been here in this perfect neighborhood since we were little.
Maybe you're overthinking it.
Overthinking? So who are all those other kids then? I flipped through the pages and she looked confused.
We've got to investigate this. Okay, I have an idea.
What?
I'll scan a few of these pictures and use Google image search to see what I can find out about them. I'll tell Mom and Dad I'm sick tomorrow and I'll just stay in my room to do all of that. Leave the album here with me tonight. Try and get some rest and we'll talk again tomorrow night. Oh, yeah, and sorry about your homework. I know you were upset about that. I hope you feel better later.
Oh, thanks. Good night. I went to bed feeling a bit better, but also extremely freaked out. The next day after school, I went straight to Laura Lee's room. So, did you find anything?
No, nothing at all.
Did you search for every single picture?
No, just a few random ones.
Did you search for mine?
No.
I rolled my eyes, took the album, scanned the picture, then uploaded it to Google image search. Immediately, a few thousand results popped up. I clicked the first one. It was an article written when I was about 1 year old. The headline was, "Baby Kidnapped While Family Was Sleeping." I read on. Mr. and Mrs. McGregor woke up to find their baby's crib empty this morning. Officials suspected that baby Kevin had been abducted. This is not the first in a series of baby abductions, which have been on the rise lately. I stopped. I couldn't read on. I showed it to Laura Lee and her eyes nearly popped out of her head.
What did the other articles say?
We scrolled down and they were all the same. A baby had been kidnapped by smugglers. There were even a few conspiracy theorists who believed that the baby had been abducted by aliens. Do you really think it's me? I don't want to be called Kevin. Ew.
That's your exact face in the pictures.
She said while pointing to one of my baby pictures, which was in a frame on her dressing table. Let's scan your picture now. We did the same thing and we got hundreds of results too. Baby kidnapped in Singapore. The articles were almost the same as the ones that were written about me. We decided to scan every single picture in the album, and it showed similar results for many pictures. They were all abducted babies.
So what does this mean?
I don't think Mom and Dad are our real parents. But what's even worse is that they may be criminals. What if all these babies were kidnapped and smuggled too?
How do we find out?
We'll have to find a way to collect their DNA samples. Then we'll do a test. That's the only way. The next week was very weird. We bought some DNA testing kits and we tried to collect samples from our parents. This was a real challenge, but we managed to get our hands on their glasses just after they finished drinking one. A week later, the test results came back. Laura Lee held the envelope in her room and we opened it together. It proved the horrifying truth. Laura Lee was not my biological sister, and that man and woman we lived with, they weren't our parents.
What are we going to do?
I don't know.
I don't think we should do anything.
Why?
Well, we're comfortable here. They've given us a happy life. I don't want everything to change. Think about what could happen. They could get arrested. We'd be sent away. Do you really want that to happen?
I thought about it for a while, then decided I really didn't want my life turned upside down. And she was right. They had given us a happy life. So we did nothing about the situation. We packed for our Caribbean vacation like nothing was wrong. But the night we had planned to leave went all wrong. We had just brought all our luggage downstairs and we were ready to put them in the trunk when the doorbell rang. I opened the door and saw that same strange man in the green suit that I had seen at the pizza place a few weeks earlier. What do you want?
Where are your parents?
Mom, Dad, some weirdo's at the door. My parents came to the door. Then suddenly, I saw 2 policemen appear behind the strange man.
You're under arrest for kidnapping and trafficking.
Did you tell?
No! We are so sorry, children.
Apparently, the weirdo was an investigator, and they'd gotten a lead somehow. He explained to us that our parents had been wanted for a very long time, and that they were not even using their real names. They were notorious baby kidnappers and smugglers, and they'd have to spend the rest of their lives in prison. Laura Lee and I were split apart and sent to live with our real families. I was devastated.